Hi BookTube! I'm here with my top 5 favorite short stories. Now, I absolutely love short stories. I love the brevity of them and how much impact you can have in just a few short pages. So, I'm going to start in no particular order with The Kid Nobody Could Handle by Kurt Vonnegut. Now, you can find this story in his collection of short stories called The Monkey House. And it's not one of his more well-known stories, but it is one of my favorite. It is one that has stuck with me for a while. This is the story of Jim and Mr. Helmholtz. Jim is a student who is angry and mad at the world and not very responsive. He doesn't believe in anything. He's been shipped from foster home to foster home, and now he's stuck with an uncle that doesn't really like him. And then he meets Mr. Helmholtz. And Mr. Helmholtz is a music teacher who sees potential. And I'm not going to tell you any more than that because I don't want to ruin the story. But the reason I love this story is because as a teacher myself, this is the student that we all dream about. This is the student that we envision when we want to make a difference through education. And the fact that Mr. Helmholtz is able to do this is really inspiring. And of course, it's a Kurt Vonnegut story. So what more could you ask for? The second short story I'd like to recommend is The Veldt by Ray Bradbury. Now, in what other genre besides science fiction would the landscape try to eat the characters? This story is absurd and awesome. I love it. And Ray Bradbury is very good at keeping his stories to the point. I highly recommend it. Coming out number 3 is probably one that we've all read in high school, but it is still one of my favorites, and that's The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. This is the epitome of having a twist in a story. When you talk about the twist to end all twists, now I don't want to tell you the twist, and I don't want to tell you what it's about, so just go out and read it if you haven't already. Well, I can't have this list without including one of the masters of the short story, and that's Edgar Allan Poe. Now, we all know The Telltale Heart, The Pit and the Pendulum. We know these stories, but one story is absolutely my favorite of his, and it is Berenice, or Bernice, but I like saying Berenice because it just sounds fancier. This is the story of a monomaniac. Monomaniacs feature heavily in Edgar Allan Poe stories, and he was fascinated with them. Monomaniacs are people who are obsessed with one thing, to the point where it affects their mental health. Berenice is the story of a young man engaged to his cousin, Berenice, and he becomes obsessed with her teeth. Yes, creepy story. I was lying down when I was reading the story and I literally jumped off the floor because of what happens. It is classic Edgar Allan Poe with the love story, the obsessions, and the very dark topics that he addresses. Last, but certainly not least, one of my all-time favorite short stories is The Dead by James Joyce. The Dead is the last story in the Dubliners collection, and it just has so many beautiful lines in it. I think this is really where James Joyce shined before he decided to start experimenting with literature and everything. I'm just going to read you the last line. It's not a spoiler, but the alliteration and the way that he writes is gorgeous. His soul swooned softly as he heard the snow falling faintly through the universe, and faintly falling like the descent of their last end upon all the living and the dead. Beautiful. So let me know in the comments below what your favorite short story is, and remember to keep on reading. Hey, you might want to check out Pickle's Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, and other social media links in the description bar underneath.